sunshine at last on La Vuelta. Stage 3 after 2 days of rain, the only worry, wind. Well, the umbrellas furled and indeed the t-shirts out and a happy atmosphere at the beginning of the day. What would it draw? Well, some uncategorised climbs right at the top of the day were always going to generate a breakaway, and so it was, we got one, a fine one as well. Súria, our starting point. None too short a distance of 158.5 kilometres, but the big climbs coming at the end of the day into Andorra really did define the stage, and potentially some of the rest of the race as well. The wind already suggesting itself at the beginning of the day, and in fact blowing up into a minor tornado at the finish line. Thankfully the wind was to abate before we got there. 11 riders, real quality up front, including Damiano Caruso of Bahrain victorious, Lotto Destinies, Eduardo Sepulveda, Leonard Kemner from Bora Hansgrohe, Pierre Latour was there as well for Total Energies. Indeed, once we crossed the border into Andorra, the pace was being set by the pack behind, but didn't seem too worried about closing the gap, which at one point was around 5 minutes. Well, points came, points went away, and we were pushing on towards what was to be the major test of the day. The climbs, 2 of them, up to Andorra. Well, the breakaway started to break apart on the first of those 2 tests, and in fact a small dish at the top of the mountain would give a fake descent really within that test before 10 kilometres all the way down to the final climb of the day. Andrea Piccolo started the day in the red jersey, was off the back early. Some big names were indeed to falter on the day. Others were starting to roll the dice from distance. This Romain Bardet deciding that he would strike out, trying to get over the penultimate climb, so giving himself a 10-kilometre descent and then 9 kilometres to the finish. Well, it wasn't to be for him. Neither was it for Eduardo Sepulveda, who went over this mountain's test in the lead of a trio up front, including Caruso and Kemner. But unfortunately, he was to get a puncture on the descent, leaving just Kemner and Caruso out front. Invoking the chase, behind them were Soudal Quickstep. The pair could not decide who was going to take on the lion's share of the break, and in the end it was to prove to be Lenny Kemner who found himself out up front and all alone. The gap was starting to close, and as the main names out front for the GC were thinking about potential for a stage win, it meant that even Lenny Kemner, who now found himself the last man standing from the breakaway, would be caught before the line. The pace was high throughout the day, and those in the front chasing group of the GC favourites were getting lively. Juan Ayuso, both he and Marc Soler were busy trying to soften up those who remained up front, and it had a big impact on some big names, including Geraint Thomas, who was struggling. Sepp Kuss, ultimate mountain domestique, he pushed on, allowing the likes of Jonas Vingegaard and Primož Roglic to rest up if rest could be found on a day like this. Folding over the top, they went for it. UAE still very, very busy. No panic behind. Buitrago, though, in trouble. Geraint Thomas also off the back, and Thymen Arensman at this last moment was also suffering fatigue. When Evenepoel went from a select group, the only man who could chase him was Jonas Vingegaard. Last couple of corners went the way of the amazing Belgian, and in fact he was the man who was to raise his arms at the line. After 2 days of complaints, joy at last, however momentary. Unfortunately, he crashed into a journalist just beyond the line, and indeed got himself a bloodied head as a result. But the joy of victory and taking the lead of this race counts for an awful lot at moments such as this. Well, you take the bumps and the bruises you are presented with in cycling, but it's how you stand up afterwards that counts. And Remco Evenepoel is there to be counted. You can count on him as well. He's defending champion. He's riding like one at the moment. Today was a brilliant statement by him. Given the same time as Vingegaard, Ayuso, Roglic, Soler, Mas, Lenny Martinez, Utebrooks, Almeida, Vlasov. But more importantly, he now leads this race by a margin of 5 seconds after what was a very impressive team time trial in appalling conditions on day 1. Mas nearest to him, then Lenny Martinez, your top 3. Andrea Vendram in the break, took those crucial points along the way. But this is about what remains. And 2 rolling stages still to come. It's going to be an amazing race. It already has been. And our leader is Remco Evenepoel.